David here with Figboot.pens. Today I have for you an entry-level pen from Italix, which is the house brand of Mr. Pen, who is a retailer out of the UK run by a gentleman by the name of Peter Ford. A while back, Mr. Ford was kind enough to send me out a couple of things to check out. Well, what did he send me? He sent me Italix's most recent release, the Deacon's Doodle. What I'm going to do is go over the parts and the features of the Deacon's Doodle, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. And stay tuned, because I not only have one, but I have two things to give away, courtesy of Mr. Ford and Mr. Pen. On a side note, the Triangle Pen Show is coming up in a little over a week. It's a decent-sized medium show that's always a lot of fun. If you happen to be at the show and see me walking around, make sure to stop me and say hi. I love to hear from folks. Since I started this channel, visiting shows and meeting folks is something that I have really enjoyed. This hobby really has a diverse community, and I think it's fun to learn a little bit about you. So I'll see you at the show. Okay, about a pen. Italix has a number of uniquely named pens. They have such pens as the Parsons Essential and the Commodore's Credential and the Churchman's Prescriptor. You could easily hear someone with a British accent saying those names. I will spare you a bad impression. Something that's important to mention is that this pen is not exclusive to Italix. It is a rebranding of a Chinese pen, so you will find variations of this very same pen elsewhere, but under different names. And I'll discuss this later, but while you can find this pen elsewhere, I do feel that Mr. Pen does add some value to this rebranded product. I have two different versions of their latest offering to show you today. Well, actually three. I have a fountain pen, then I also have a fountain pen and ballpoint set. The fountain pen arrives in this simple cardboard box, and then the set arrives in a little box like this with that sleeve, and inside we have the set. And you can see here we have two pens. One is the fountain pen and one is the ballpoint. So, I'll just take a look at this one here. This is the Deacon's Doodle fountain pen. I'll show the ballpoint a bit during the writing sample, but let's take a closer look here at the fountain pen. It's a metal pen. It's made from stainless steel, and it does have a decent weight to it. It's an inexpensive entry-level pen, but it doesn't necessarily feel cheap. Let's start by taking a look at the finial. At the end of the cap, there is a black plastic piece which is slightly rounded. The finial is a more polished metal, as well as a band just below it, which is contrast to the more brushed metal look of the rest of the cap and barrel. The clip is serviceable, and it's slightly bowed, and at the top it's laser engraved with Italix. The cap is concave, and then at the end of the cap is a polished band devoid of any branding. There is a bit of a step down to the barrel, and then the barrel is straight until about this point, where it tapers down at an even angle. Then at the end of the barrel, there is another polished metal piece. The cap does snap off, and here we have the nib. It is a laser engraved with Italix, and this one here is the medium nib, and on the other one it is a stub nib that we'll take a look at later. And then here is a look at the plastic feed. The section actually begins with a ring, which is a good thing, because between this slick metal and a somewhat steep angle, my grip has a tendency to gravitate toward the narrow front of the section, and the ring helps you maintain that grip. The section does have two grooved rings, but I find that they don't really do much in the way of improving your grip. The cap posts, and it does post securely. This pen is made from stainless steel, so the cap has a bit of weight to it, and I would say it backweights the pen slightly, but not too bad. This is a cartridge converter pen that I'm not certain if it comes with any cartridges. The two I received didn't, but it did come with a standard international converter. The Deacon's Doodle retails for approximately $17. And for an entry-level pen that's well constructed and, for me, writes perfectly fine, that's not a bad deal. You could add that matching ballpoint, which takes like a Pilot G2 refill, for an additional $15 if you would like as well. As I mentioned, unlike some of the other offerings from Italix, this particular pen is manufactured completely in China and has been rebranded. You can find these pens for as little as $4 or $5 on eBay, but those do have a lower quality nib. The versions of this pen that you will find with the same nib as this one are priced comparably as to what Mr. Pen has these priced at. In addition, if you purchase it through Mr. Pen, you're actually dealing with a reputable retailer who stands behind their products. Not that I haven't had good experiences purchasing from random eBay and Amazon sellers, but I realize that there is an inherent risk in doing so. So purchasing through someone who is established minimizes that risk. In the end, the Deacon's Doodle is what it is. It is an inexpensive entry-level pen. I find it to be well constructed, and we'll see in the writing sample, but both of the versions I received perform adequately. And it has the benefit of being a pen that can take some abuse. Being thrown around in the bottom of a bag or banging around with a bunch of other pens. You shouldn't have to worry too much about getting this pen dinged up. It's going to be able to take a beating. So at this particular price point, I feel it's a decent offering. Thanks again go out to Mr. Ford of Mr. Pen for providing these pens. If you are interested in seeing more about this pen, I'll put a link to the site, to his site in the notes below. If you would care to win either this fountain pen and the ballpoint set or an individual fountain pen, all you need to do is be a subscriber to this channel and leave a comment here on this video in YouTube. Today is Thursday, May 24th, and you have until end of day on Saturday the 26th to enter. In regard to a comment topic, I mentioned the Triangle Pen Show is coming up, and let me know if you've ever had a chance to attend a show, and if so, what's something that you really enjoyed about the experience. The comment topic is not required, it's just a suggestion. But I will pick 2 winners from those who enter, and one will receive the set, which includes the ballpoint, and the other will receive just the single fountain pen. Now, like I mentioned, one of these pens is a medium and one is a stub. I'm just going to randomly put one in each box, and so I'm not quite sure which one will be in there. So it'll be a bit of a surprise to the one that you receive if you win. So now it's time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Italix Deacon's Doodle. Here it is with a Conklin Durograph. Then here it is with a TWSBI Diamond 580. And then here it is with a Pilot Metropolitan. And in regard to a few other pens, here it is with a Faber-Castell Basic. Here it is with a Lamy All-Star. And here it is with a Pilot Vanishing Point. In honor of the new Star Wars movie coming out here soon, here is the Stormtrooper. So here we have the Italix Deacon's Doodle. This particular one is a medium, and the ink that I'm using is Diamine Ancient Copper. This is what the ink looks like. I've been into kind of reddish browns lately, and that this is a pretty solid one. This is another reddish brown I care for, which is Franklin Christoph Terra Firma. And then here's what it looks like in regard to something like Bungbox Piano Mahogany. It's not quite as dark as that. This is the bottle that mine comes in. This is one of the smaller Diamine bottles. This is the 30 milliliter bottle, and it holds a decent amount of ink, and that it's being elongated like this makes it easy to get even your largest pens in there. So let's have a look at the rest of the writing sample. That for a lower cost medium steel nib, this one is okay. I would categorize it as sufficient. That it's not spectacular, it's not buttery smooth, but it gets the job done. And for an entry-level pen, then it's not going to give you a ton of line variation, but it gets the job done. In regard to wetness, I can't say it's the wettest pen out there. And what does it look like in regard to reverse writing? It actually performs rather well. In regard to some fast writing, it performs well. Real quick, let's take a look. This is the Ballpoint, which twists open, and that one, while it's not going to have any line variation or anything like that, I do find it to be very pleasant, and I like this Ballpoint more than other ones that I have as far as the actual Ballpoint refill itself. But this one is very pleasant. But then the other one I have is the what you can see here is the stub nib. And in this particular pen, I have the KWZ Hawaii Blue, which is the Hippo Noto exclusive ink. And in this particular pen, let's see if we can see how this writes. And you can see that the stub is going to have a thicker line up and down and a thinner line here in between, and it's going to lay down a little bit more ink, and then in regard to some fast writing, I'd say the fast writing, it doesn't quite perform as well, but it gets the job done. And for an entry-level pen, and if you haven't really experienced stub nibs before, it's an inexpensive way to take a look at a stub nib to see if it's something you really care for. So there is the Italix Deacon's Doodle. Like I said, for an entry-level pen, it's something that is interesting. It's very solidly built and performs well, and that it's something that you could also throw in a backpack bag or get it knocked around, and you're not going to be too worried about damaging this pen as well. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.